Please move.
Thank you. You may now be seated. Good afternoon. I am Cadet Major Seymour Dallin, and on behalf of our principal, Ms. Annabelle Lee, students and staff, and the Tracy Unified School District, I would like to welcome you to the 2021 West High School Veterans Day ceremony, hosted by the Maryland West High School Air Force JROTC, Unit CA-20161. Today, we gather to honor our veterans in attendance, those missing in action, and all who have worn the uniform of the United States military and have served our country honorably. We appreciate the sacrifices that those in uniform have made to allow this gathering to take place and the freedoms we enjoy today. Before we begin our ceremony, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests. Please welcome Congressman Josh Harder, representing California's 10th Congressional District. Dr. Troy Brown, County Superintendent of Schools. Robert Rickman, San Joaquin County 5th District Supervisor. Dr. Brian Stevens, Superintendent, Tracy Unified School District. Ms. Tammy Jolie, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. Dr. Michael Bunch, Director of Human Resources. Ms. Juliana Stocking, Associate Superintendent of Ed Services. Dr. Zach Boswell, Director of Curriculum and Accountability. Ms. Tanaya Salinas, Director of Continuous Improvement. And finally, Dr. Mary Petty, Director of Student Services. Today, we will be performing a POW MIA ceremony. This ceremony is part of most official functions, formal dinners, and ceremonies surrounded around the Air Force.
Quadrant! And hut!
As you enter the room, you may have noticed a special table. It is filled with symbolism. I will explain. The table is reserved to honor our missing service members, those missing in action from all wars. They are not with us today. Set for 5, the empty chairs represent Americans who were or are missing from each of the branches of service: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. This honor ceremony symbolizes that they are with us here in spirit. Some were very young when they were sent into combat. However, Americans should never forget the brave men and women who answer our nation's call to serve the cause of freedom in a special way. Let us remember their absence as we now honor each march of service as the West High Orchestra plays Amazing Grace. Let us remember the United States Army, honored by Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Kyle Burnett. Let us remember the United States Marine Corps, honored by Cadet Captain Timothy Miles. Let us remember the United States Navy, honored by Cadet Major Valerie Rinkin. Let us remember the United States Air Force, honored by Cadet Captain Dallin Silcox. Let us remember the United States Coast Guard, honored by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Carly Turner. Let us remember the men and women, prisoners of war or missing in action, from all branches of service that are too often forgotten. Let us remember them. I would like to explain the symbolism of the items on this special table. The hats from the 5 services represents the unity of purpose shared by our comrades in arms. The one table, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner against his aggressors. The table is brown, to show our everlasting concern for our missing men. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. Remember. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and the loved ones and friends of these Americans who keep the faith awaiting answers. Remember, the vase is tied with a yellow ribbon, symbolizing our continued determination to account for our missing. Remember, a slice of lemon on the red plate. Reminds us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in foreign lands. Remember, a pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers. Remember, the candle is lit. Reflecting our hope for their return, alive or dead. Remember, the glass. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share in this evening's toast. Remember, Chairs are empty, they are not here. Remember all who served and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forgotten you. Remember.
Audrey! Teddy!
At this time, I ask that you please stand. FFA will come forward to lay a wreath. We will then bow our heads for a moment of silence in honor of the Americans who were or are missing from each of the services. Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Audrey! And hot!
Taps will now be played by the West High Orchestra. We would like to recognize the veterans that are now teachers and/or staff at West High. Miss Babette Atkins, Army. Lee Aptaker, Army. Corey Frazier, Army. Mr. Scott Von Stade, Army. Mr. Edalberto Gomez, Marine Corps. Ms. Holly Smith, Coast Guard. He's not with us today, but Mr. T.J. Williams, Air Force. We would also like to recognize our very own AFJROTC instructors, Senior Master Sergeant John Morris, Air Force. And Major Archie Roundtree, Air Force. If you are a veteran of the armed forces or have a family member currently serving or is retired, please wave a hand when their branch of service is called. Army. Marine Corps. Navy. Air Force. And Coast Guard. Thank you. You may now be seated. Today, I have the honor of introducing our special guest speaker, the distinguished representative of California's 10th Congressional District, Congressman Josh Harder. Congressman Harder proudly represents California's 10th Congressional District, located in California's Central Valley, covering Stanislaus County and parts of San Joaquin County. He came to Congress to advocate for lower healthcare costs, good-paying jobs, and innovative solutions to bring more water to families and farmers. As a member of the House Agriculture Committee, Congressman Harder focuses on ensuring the Central Valley's vibrant agricultural communities thrives. He prioritizes not only serving our farmers and producers, but also is dedicated to finding solutions to better manage our water resources and help our communities better prepare for droughts. Congressman Harder also serves as a member of the Appropriations Committee. He will use his role to advocate for more federal support for water infrastructure, healthcare, agriculture, and other Central Valley priorities. Congressman Harder started his career in the private sector, where he focused on creating jobs and growing businesses. This took him to Kenya and Uganda, where he helped small farmers access funding. After receiving a public policy and business degree from Harvard, he taught business at Modesto Junior College before entering public service. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Congressman Josh Harder.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm Congressman Josh Harder. It's a tremendous opportunity to be here. I really want to thank the invitation from our supervisor, assistant supervisor, and the whole campus staff for being here and allowing me to speak for a minute. And I really just want to thank all the incredible work by the ROTC program here at West. Can we give them a round of applause for all the work that they did? This is a very poignant and meaningful ceremony, and the campus administrators made it clear to me that they deserve not a shred of glory for it. It all was in the hands of the students, so thank you for doing such an incredible job. And can we also get a round of applause for all of our veterans here and recognize them one more time? I come from a long line of veterans. My grandfather served in World War II in the Pacific. He served in Burma. He had a chance to meet Gandhi while he was there. His brother, my great uncle, was on D-Day +2. He was on the beaches of Normandy the day after D-Day. His job was to defuse mines. I can't even imagine the courage of somebody like that, my great uncle, going on the beaches of Normandy and spending weeks going mine by mine to try to make the lives of his fellow soldiers safe. And of course, we have a lot of veterans right here in the Valley. But the spirit of Veterans Day is to recognize that only 1% of living Americans have served in uniform. 1%. 99% have not. And yet, as we said, all the freedoms that we have, the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom to live our lives in pursuit of the American dream, all of those of Americans who have actually served our nation in uniform. That's an incredible responsibility. And I think it's up to us to make sure that we are spending all the other days of the year making sure that we live up to those values and those principles that were defended by that 1% of Americans who served. That's up to us to make sure that we do a better job living up to those values based on that sacrifice. We also, I think, should just think a little bit about our nation's history. A period like this, an assembly, as magnificent and wonderful and poignant and meaningful as this, would not have been possible in every period of American history. Think about 50 years ago, after the Vietnam War. We had a period where a lot of veterans did not get the welcome that they should have received when they came back to the United States. Some of them were spit on, even attacked. One Vietnam veteran from right here in Tracy, told me that the day he got back from the Vietnam War, he felt so humiliated by the welcome that he received by his fellow Americans that he burned his uniform, and he never identified as a veteran for decades afterwards. We've come a long way in changing our attitudes about our veterans and recognizing the freedoms that we have because of their service. And that's actually really encouraging. Seeing something like this, that probably would not have been possible 40 or 50 years ago, is a big step in the right direction. It's so encouraging to see students coming together and doing this. But attitudes and words are not enough. We have to make sure that we're taking actions as well. This is personal for me. My grandfather served 2 tours in the Vietnam War. He was affected by Agent Orange, this terrible chemical that was used in that conflict, and then a lot of Americans were exposed to as well as a lot of folks in Vietnam. My uncle's life was cut short, my grandfather's life was cut short because of his exposure to Agent Orange. He passed away when I was just 3 years old. I barely got a chance to even know my grandfather. All the memories I really have are based on pictures. And yet, for the 50 years since the Vietnam War, Vietnam veterans affected by Agent Orange did not have their medical benefits covered. That's really tragic. That means that we have a long way to go, and that Veterans Day is a reminder that we can actually make progress on making sure that we're fulfilling the promises and the oaths that were made to those who served just as much as they enforce the oaths made to the rest of us. The good news is we've made progress on that. Last year, because of the actions of a Vietnam veteran based here in Tracy, Vietnam veterans now have their medical benefits covered because of Agent Orange. That's a big step forward, caused by making sure that we're actually listening to our veterans community, making sure that the changes in attitudes, the changes in words are backed up by the changes in actions. That's really exciting. But it's up to us to make sure that the other 364 days of the year, we are doing our best to live up to that promise. So I know you guys have a busy schedule here. I was told to be brief, but I just really want to thank all of our students for putting this together. I think this is so exciting to see a vibrant, thriving ROTC program here at West. It's so exciting to see so many students stepping up and getting engaged in the ROTC program. And of course, it's so inspiring to see all of the actions, all of our students, the choir, the orchestra, and all of you coming to this assembly to make sure that we can recognize the support and the service that our veterans have given. So thank you so much. We end with another round of applause for all of our veterans here.
Thank you, Congressman Josh Harder, for your very enlightening speech. I would like to bring this ceremony to a close with a few remarks provided by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs as the West High Orchestra plays America the Beautiful. When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner almost 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. Those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout the nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom, to aid our friends and allies, and to turn back aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle and the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today. These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Quote, "Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met." End quote. Those words apply equally to many of our World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, and Gulf War veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty service members, to tomorrow's veterans who are helping to maintain peace throughout the world. Today, it is our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them for their service and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today, we celebrate America's veterans for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Squadron! And hut!
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as we retire the colors.
Ready, move! Squadron! Ready!
At this time, we would like to give a special acknowledgement to Dr. Brown, who 5 years ago took the steps with the Air Force to bring JROTC to West High. When it started, the program had only around 50 cadets and 1 instructor. Today, we have over 140 cadets as well as 2 instructors. The JROTC program harbors a positive impact on the school, the district, the community, and all the cadets who have and will come to this program. With that said, the CA-20161 AFJROTC cadets would like to say thank you, Dr. Brown. And now, the CA-20161 AFJROTC cadets want to say thank you
to all the men and women who have selflessly served our country. Thank you, veterans, for your service and sacrifice. May God bless and protect our active duty forces and military veterans. And thank you all for coming out here today to honor the men and women of our armed forces. Let's give them one more round